Welcome to the Victorian Small Business Network, your go-to podcast for small business owners looking to connect, share and grow. Here we bring together the heart and hustle of entrepreneurship, sharing real stories, insights and tips from fellow business owners. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale, we're here to build a supportive community that helps you take your business to the next level. Let's dive into inspiring conversations, expert advice and everything you need to succeed in today's world of small business. In today's podcast, we're going to cover property management and renovations, a mixed bag of goodies today. We have the wonderful Charles Joubert, or Chuck. Should we just call you Chuck?
Chuck is good.
Chuck is good. Chuck Joubert, CEO and Senior Property Manager for Proactive Property Group. Glaucia Camargo.
Yes.
Director of Renovation. So, Chuck, we're going to start with you. What sets property managers, right? What sets Proactive Property Group apart from other property management companies?
In terms of the work and licenses and legal behind real estate and property management, Proactive is no different to your franchise companies in terms of a legal. Where we do differ is the fact and the opportunity of us being a boutique tailored company where we can actually go back and specialize certain services to the client. Property management is our core focus. We choose not to do sales because we believe that sales is a skill set, a needed skill set, but it is totally opposite to property management. And in my experience in business, I've found that property management, when it is closely aligned with a sales company, has a different idea or a different function. So at Proactive, we purely focus on property management. We are very much focused on our clients, both landlord or renter, rental provider, or the renter or aka tenant. So we offer them both unique services so we can facilitate the looking after of the property.
So how do you ensure both landlords and tenants receive fair and transparent services?
Yeah, so the most important thing I found is, if I speak from a rental provider perspective, is clear communication. It's making sure that we really sort of, the services that we said we're going to do, we do. But it's also making sure the biggest thing in property management is that clear and transparent and effective communication. A landlord or a rental provider is probably the most nervous when their property is vacant because that's when no dollar is coming in and they really don't know. But if you have a structured communication system or a plan, the owners are really, really happy, because they know exactly where they are. Now, if it takes 1, 2, 3 weeks to lease, a lot of times, a lot of franchise, they're too busy that they just don't have the time to communicate. And that is the loss. Same thing with renters. Renters, in the past, they were really treated like second-class citizens because the sales guys just wanted to sell the property, didn't really care about tenants. I then sort of instilled a methodology where I go to tenants and I, on the onset, I tell them, I care about 2 things. Pay your rent on time, but most importantly, look after the property as if you own it. What I've found by saying that, the tenants knew what their responsibilities were, what they needed to do and ask and live. In the past, no one really cared what they did and they didn't have that communication. So, and again, we do the same effective communication with the tenants as well. So we keep them informed all the way. And I think that's the most important thing. It's a lot of it is about that communication, and it's about that making sure that all parties are sort of part of that same structure. I found that works best. And if I want to sort of segue a little bit back to traditional, let's call 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30 years ago in property management. So traditionally what would have happened is the sales guy would have gone out there, got the client because they are, to use the phrase, the ego, and a lot of sales guys need that to be good at their role. Any salesperson, right, needs to have that.
Have the sale, yep.
To get the sale, yeah. So what then happened was they would get the client, they would make the sale, but then the client naturally would say, yes, I want to keep the property. A lot of the sales guys, and I used a term before. It was always the and it sounds terrible, but it's the ugly sibling that sits in the back corner typing away on and that's essentially how it played out. It was, we got the property, we didn't want to deal with it, we passed it to that person that sat in the corner and just plugged away. A lot of sales guys, the reason why they wanted to keep the property wasn't because they wanted to foster a relationship with the tenant or the client. They just wanted that stock so that when that person wanted to sell, they had it.
Yeah.
And they were the sales agent again.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, when I sort of came into the industry 17 years ago, that is what I came into. And I sort of came in at a mature age. I was 28 years old. I came from the UK. I came from a hospitality background. So I really sort of stepped in that, and I didn't like that power play. I didn't like the fact that sales guys were the bosses, if you like to call it. I really thought that property management is the asset. The actual property is the asset of the business. You can actually get bank loans on it. You can get, you can sell it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a book and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
The way the people in property management were treated by the sales force just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
So I think and then obviously having that mindset in play really helped, it then focused on the tenant. Because if you are looking at an asset and you're looking at it long term, why not treat the person in the property with that sort of respect, but also give that person a sense of ownership? And I always use this. I use the philosophy is, and this was the story I told. I said, I own my property, but I don't really own my property. The bank owns it. So if my front door's got a loose handle, do I go to the bank and say to the bank and say, hey, you own my property, you've got to fix it? And I always go back and say, well, then why should the landlords?
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to my previous sort of philosophy for tenants. Pay your rent, look after the property. Because they understand that, they appreciate it. And then what they then go and do is they will go. And I think that is why these new laws came into effect in March 21. You know, where a lot of landlords went, oh, we don't have any more power, tenants have all the power. I've got a philosophy is, if we gave the tenants the ownership and the respect when they took on the property, then we wouldn't have needed these. We wouldn't have needed these things. Yeah. We see the property as the asset or the product that and then our skill set is just combining the renter and the rental provider and providing that relationship.
Cool.
So, Chow, what type of support can I expect as a rental provider or tenant?
Yeah, so as a rental provider, our full service management is, again, everything from finding you a new tenant, doing all the legal, checks, making sure the tenants will do those two things. It's also the onboarding process, making sure that the tenants have all the legal documentation in play, and they also have the right structure going into that. So we do the ingoing condition reports, we do make sure they've got lease agreements, make sure the keys are actually photographed and registered, and we have a sort of a 10 document process that we tick off with tenants before they move in. And that's the same thing with, and that's the rental provider. So during the tenancy, both rental provider and renter, making sure the property is maintained. We give them, with that clear communication structure, we use a group chat system that they can communicate very quickly if there are any issues that they might have and might face with their property. So they can get back to us. And because we use the same system, it's easy to transfer that communication to the rental provider so we can get a quick response. Glaucia, what is the biggest challenge you find in your industry?
In my interest in the cabinet making industry, finding qualified workers is a huge challenge because, first of all, there aren't many around. And as a company, especially nowadays, everything changed. We've come to realize that people are not only looking for paychecks anymore. They need a safe environment to work. They need to feel that they belong. They need to be proud of what they're doing. So we, not only us, but we have to kind of adapt ourselves to these new conditions. So in our workshop, for example, we, unlike most of other cabinet makers out there, we have a very, very super clean workshop, very organized. We provide them with brand new tools, so we don't buy secondhand or brands that are not good. So we provide them with high quality tools to work. We make sure they know how to use the machines because we work with high risk machines. We make sure they know how to use. They have the proper training. We invest in. We did a first training. We all of us did together. So just in case something happened to one of them, we know how to do something at least. And also, we saw that at the very beginning was a little bit hard because people tend to go and look for you online and do a little bit of research. Now the interview is different from before, from years ago. You're not the only one interviewing your candidates. Your candidates are interviewing you. So yeah, it is really important, like the visibility, the reputation. So as I was saying, in the beginning it was a little bit hard because we were new. Now we have a good website. We have amazing Google reviews. We have our social medias where we post our work. So it's becoming easier and easier. But it is still a challenge. We are specialized in residential cabinetry itself, but our niche product, I would say, are kitchens, residential kitchens. And this is because normally you don't spend that much time in your bathroom or in your bedroom, but you spend a lot of time. People tend to spend a lot of time in their kitchens. You're not only spending time there cooking, but you're spending time with your family, connecting. When you bring people over, you're entertaining. So people tend to spend more money and to give more attention to their kitchen projects. So yes, I would say it's our kitchens.
I think so. Sort of further on to that, in terms of your niche products, like, is there something that you prefer doing? You know, I know you said kitchens is sort of, but is it something within kitchens that you like to focus on? You know, like, what is the most asked question? You know, and what do you love doing the most when it comes to that? So you'll give your recommendation.
Yeah, so we love doing kitchens because it's our expertise. My partner has years of experience and he did a lot of kitchens and kitchen, like not only kitchens, but cabinetry itself. When we are talking custom, it is personalized. So each person, each family is different. And we just got to dig deep and understand what do you really need. And people normally don't know. They see kitchens, they know, okay, I need a range hood, I need an oven, but how it's going to be functional? How you're going to use the kitchen? Who is the main cook in the house? There's so many questions to ask. Yeah, but we love working with kitchens. Our design process, it is actually really connected with the previous questions because this is one thing that people normally overlook when they're doing cabinetry, when they're renovating. Some people, when they come from architects or interior designers, it's easier because they went through this before. But when they come directly to us because they are working with the builders, I'm not saying builders are not good, they're amazing, but they're not kitchen specialists, they're not cabinetry specialists, and there's so many things that people need to understand, like the materials, the finishes, the durability, if it's fingerprint resistant, so many details involved. People don't know how important it is to work with a person that understands and that is going to ask you the right questions. Are you right-handed? Are you left-handed? Who is the main cook in the house? How many times a week do you do your shopping? Do you need a big pantry? Do you go every day to the supermarket? Do you how big is the area that you need to do food preparation? There's so many things. Like if you fry, some cultures like Chinese, they fry things more than other people. So there's so many questions we need to ask and understand. Before we even start doing drawings or going to the design and the layout. We can recommend the appliances. We are not specialists in terms of which brand is going to work better or what this brand does and the module. But yes, we can recommend when we have conversations with the client, depending on their cooking habits. We can recommend, and also the size of the kitchen. So because everything works together. Everything works together. Yep. Some people, they come and say, oh, I love a black kitchen. Okay. Black kitchen. It's going to be oily. You're going to see a lot of fingerprints. We need to choose the right material, because what I always tell my clients, you don't want to do something, you don't want to spend 30-40 grand in a kitchen or whatever other cabinetry that you're going to look at it every day and regret. So you got to be very careful to choose the materials correctly, to choose the layout, to make sure you plan the functionality, everything. It is a long process, and people normally tend to overlook the design process.
Thanks for tuning in to the Victorian Small Business Podcast. We hope today's episode gave you the inspiration and insights to elevate your business to succeed. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and connect with us by visiting vsbn.com.au. You'll see the profiles of today's members, and you'll be able to engage with them if you have further questions. Until next time, keep connecting.